right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's council meeting. Let's start with our land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge that the land we inhabit today was once known as Tovangar, the home of the Gabrielino Tonva people. We show our respect to the Gabrielino Tonva people, as well as all indigenous people, past, present, and future, and honor their labor as original caretakers of this land. We commit to uplifting the Gabrielino Tonva people, invite you to acknowledge the history, and join us in caring for this land. Let's have our flag salute. Today we have our Monterey Park Police Explorers, as well as our civic superstar, Shijun Jan from Monterey Highlands.
Outward, face, breeze, and colors.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, colors. Outward, face. Forward, march. Colors. About face. Dismiss.
Thank you so much to our Monterey Park Police Explorers and to our civic superstar, Shijun Jan. We have a certificate to present to you. Thank you for being here today to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If any other residents or community members have children who like to be your civic superstars, you are welcome to apply and to lead us in our future Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Go,
Present.
Councilmember Wong,
Present.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Lo,
Here.
Mayor Yang.
Present.
Thank you.
All right, so under agenda revisions and additions, the City Council met in closed session prior to today's council meeting to consider initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4. After considering the matter, the City Council voted unanimously to authorize the city attorney to file appropriate action to render real property located at 2537-2543 Lee Avenue in South El Monte to be marketable. This property is being sold to recover debt owed to the city. Do we have any other agenda revisions or additions?
No, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to public communications. Okay, so we have two public communications today. Number one would be David David Getz from the fire department.
Evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and city staff. I'm here tonight not as a captain of the Monterey Park Fire Department, but actually as the newly elected union president representing the 1014 members of Monterey Park. I want to sincerely, but don't put up the guards yet, it's good. I want to sincerely thank you for your leadership and hard work on two critical priorities for our community safety. First, thank you for the recent vote to purchase the parcel of land on Monterey Pass for our new fire station. I remember 20 years ago when I started my career here that there was talks of a new Station 62, and all the old guys said that was a pipe dream. Well, that's done and completed, and now the first big hurdle on our way to a second station in my career has been passed, and it's really exciting. That decision reflects a real and tangible investment in public safety and improved protection for our residents, and it shows you're planning not just for today, but for the community's needs decades into the future. Second, really, I want to say on behalf of everyone, because we did, I really swear, we had everyone here, and just as chance has it, there was 3 calls that came up in the city, so they all had to leave unplanned, I promise. But when the city needs us, we answer that call. I want to recognize and thank council, fire admin, city management, as well as HR for their diligent efforts to bring in the largest incoming class of new firefighters our city has ever had. Ensuring proper staffing levels means our firefighters can do their job safely and effectively. It also means we are, as we're in the midst of this holiday season, we're able to go home and focus on our families, knowing that our brethren that are here working are safe and staffed. These decisions don't happen by chance. They require commitment, tough choices, and a willingness to prioritize public safety. So on behalf of all the guys that were here and all of 1014, we want to thank you sincerely and have a good night and a happy and safe holidays.
Thank you so much, Captain Getz, and thank you to your team for all your service for our city. Our second speaker tonight is Anthony Wong on behalf of the Monterey Park Lions Club.
Good evening, everybody. Honorable Mayor Elizabeth Yang, Mayor Pro Tem Henry Lowe, Councilmember Jose Sanchez, Councilmember Thomas Wong, Councilmember Win Ngo, City Manager Inez Alvarez, City Attorney Carl Berger, of course, and City Clerk Michelle Yee, City Treasurer Amy Lee. This chamber looks familiar to me. Tonight, I'm wearing a hat of Monterey Park Lions Club. Monterey Park Lions Club was founded and chartered on December 29th, 1937, which is exactly 88 years ago. So Monterey Park Lions Club is going to celebrate its 88th anniversary installation dinner of all the officers and directors on December 27th, at St. Gabriel Hilton Hotel. So we expect to have about 600 attendees, and I represent the club to extend our invitation to all of you to join us to celebrate our 88th anniversary. Montreal Park Lion Club has built the amphitheater in the back of Barnes Park, the pavilion, the service clubhouse, the warehouse, the fountains, the bathroom, all of those was built by the member of Montreal Park Lions Club. And in the year 1978, the Lion Club built the Lions Manor on 215 North Chandler. Right now, we are having Christmas celebration there. So I'll be going there after my speaking to all of you to present my invitation to you. And after our celebration on the 27th, Montreal Park Lion Club will be chairing a hunger drive program to service about 1,000 families those need food. So we'll be doing that drive on December 28th from 8 o'clock in the morning at Doubletree Hotel in Rosemead on 888 Montebello Boulevard. So you're all welcome to join us to help those needy people. I understand that Mayor Elizabeth will be there helping us together. And you're all welcome. And those are staying at home and those are here, you're welcome to work together with us to serve the company, to serve the club, and to serve our community, helping those needy people. So Montreal Park Lion Club has been serving the community for over 80 years, and we decided and we are dedicated to continue our forefathers' work, the steps, to continue to help whoever needs help. And we work together with the MD4L2. Under that district, there are altogether 61 Lion Clubs of a total of about 1,500 members working together. So we are dedicated to work with them and hoping that you will all support us and join us to work together. With that, happy holidays, good luck, good health. Thank you very much.
Right. Oh, Mr. Wong, you said it's on the 27th?
27th.
Okay, what time and
At
where?
St. Gabriel Hilton from
Oh,
6 o'clock
6 o'clock, okay.
to 9 o'clock. There are a lot of programs. Please join us as our honorable guest. Thank you.
The dinner is on the 27th, and the food distribution is on the morning
28th.
of the 28th,
Yeah, in the morning from 8 o'clock.
8 a.m. All right.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I think that's it for public communications today. So we'll move on to staff communications, Public Works.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members, and City staff. My name is Judy Huitrago. I'm an analyst here in the City of Monterey Park with the Public Works Department, and I'll be going over some staff communications from our department. Next slide, please. The city recently launched an ongoing community transportation survey to gather feedback from riders and community members of Monterey Park. It was shared across city social media platforms, Cascades, as well as Spirit Bus and MPK Transit Express rides. The survey was also shared with local school districts for distribution, including East Los Angeles College and Cal State LA. The survey is available in English, Spanish, and Chinese, and is accessible by scanning the QR codes in the slide. The feedback will also allow us to improve future rider experience. Monthly compost dates have been released for the first half of 2026. They take place once a month on Saturdays at Garvey Ranch Park between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. Bagged compost is available on a first-come, first-served basis with a limit of 2 bags per customer for the first hour. Collection services will be delayed by 1 day for the upcoming holidays. Those holidays are Christmas Day, Thursday, December 25th, 2025, and New Year's Day, Thursday, January 1st, 2026. With that, Christmas trees will be collected on your normal pickup days starting December 26th through January 17th, 2026. We've also included a few tips for residents for tree recycling. Please remove strands, ornaments, lights, and tinsel. Cut your tree in half if it is more than 6 feet tall, and place trees next to regular trash container. The Public Works Department is currently in the process of updating AMI water meters throughout the city. And we anticipate the meter update completion between July 2026 and October 2026. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that presentation. All
Do we
right.
have any questions?
Any questions?
Just really quick, thank you for the update on the AMI replacements. I know it looks like we've done a couple hundred already, if I'm reading that right. Any issues with deploying the new meters so far? I don't know, Sean is about to get up, but just curious how the initial implementation is going.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council, Sean Engel, Public Works Director. So far, it's been smooth. We've done a slow rollout to test the waters. So far, everything's gone really, really well. I've had a couple little things come up here and there, but we've worked through those with the contractor and ready to start the new year.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you. And our next presentation, item 7A, will be our SGV Council of Governments, welcoming President Ed Reese.
Well, good evening, Mayor, council members. I'm Ed Reese, and I'm proud to serve the city of Claremont and serve as your new president of the San Gabriel Valley Council of Governments. Today, I'd like to show how the COG brings together cities to tackle challenges, deliver results, and make our region stronger. Next slide, please. The COG is truly a partnership. It brings together 31 cities, 2 county supervisorial districts, and many local public agencies across the San Gabriel Valley. Our mission is simple but powerful: to give our region one strong, unified voice, to deliver projects that improve transportation, housing, and sustainability, and most importantly, to improve the quality of life for nearly 2 million residents who, in part, call this great city their home. The collaboration is what makes the sum, the collaboration makes us stronger than the sum of our parts. Next slide. Of course, a mission this big requires leadership, and that's where our executive committee comes in. I'm proud to serve alongside a group of committed local leaders, each chosen by their peers to help guide the COG's priorities. They help set the direction, review policies, and make sure our work reflects the needs and values of our member cities. In short, the executive committee and the governing board keep us grounded in the realities of our communities while keep us focused on the future. Next slide. And that leadership, it extends outward through our policy committees. These committees are where real collaboration happens. They focus on issues that touch every city: capital projects, the environment, homelessness, and transportation. We also draw on the expertise of city managers and working groups so that local voices shape our regional solutions. And this is where you come in. If you haven't already, and I know many of you have, I encourage you to get involved. Your expertise and your perspective helps to ensure the city's voice is heard and your residents' needs are reflected in our regional decisions. Next slide. Of course, leadership and collaboration is only part of the story. That's where our staff shines. Under the leadership of Executive Director Mercer Creeder, our talented team takes the ideas and turns them into action. They provide the expertise, the project management, and the support that makes sure that our city's priorities move forward. Next slide. Let me share a few examples of what collaboration has achieved. First, our construction authority. We're the only COG in Los Angeles County with this authority. We're delivering 19 major grade separation projects, each costing $100 to $200 million each, at little or no cost to our cities. And today we're expanding to highway improvements, transit facilities, and active transportation projects. Second, SB 1383 compliance. This state law requires us to cut food waste going to landfills, and the COG has helped cities triple their business compliance rates and at the same time help food banks to be able to use the food donation they received by providing them with refrigeration and other necessary equipment. It's truly a win-win, where we're helping the environment and addressing food insecurity. And third, Measure M funding. Just last year, we directed $36.5 million to 17 San Gabriel Valley agencies for projects that make it easier and safer for people to go simply where they need to go. These are just a few snapshots, but they show the real tangible impact the COG has had in our communities. And beyond these regional wins, we also partner directly with cities. Next slide. I'd like to share a little bit about our partnership with Monterey Park. Specifically, I want to talk about compliance support. The COG is proud to partner with the city and local businesses to help achieve compliance with SB 1383. In the past year, the COG has worked with more than 83 local businesses to recover over 193,000 pounds of food. This program is currently funded through a state local assistance grant, with the city receiving approximately $162,000 worth of benefits. In homeless outreach, the COG provides homeless outreach teams from the Los Angeles Centers for Alcohol and Drug Abuse to support the city's homelessness efforts. And in resident benefits, the COG manages several programs that directly benefit the residents of member cities. And through our Go SGV e-cargo bike voucher program, 59 Monterey Park residents were selected to receive $2,000 vouchers towards the purchase of new cargo electric bicycles, all from local vendors. Lastly, I want to add one other thing. The Energy Champion Award. I'd like to congratulate the City of Monterey Park on winning the Silver Award at our recent COG Energy Champions Award. This week, the city was, last week, I'm losing track of my weeks, but last week the city was recognized for its hard work and dedication to energy efficiency in the San Gabriel Valley. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for your commitment to a greener SGV. I do have an award for you. I'll bring that up momentarily, but next slide, please. At the heart of all of this is really what binds us together, our shared love for the San Gabriel Valley. That is why I launched the iHeart SGV program. It grew from my deep belief that we are stronger when we celebrate our common values in the communities we call home. This program is about bringing our member cities and through them, our residents, together in shared pride and appreciation for the San Gabriel Valley. For me, it's also personal. My love of public service, it's soul-feeding. And this program is a way for me to show gratitude for our region, for our cities, and for the people who make the San Gabriel Valley such a special place to live. The COG exists to serve you, your council, your staff, and your residents. By working together, our collective voice is louder, our reach is farther, and we can deliver on projects and services that no city can do alone. As president, my number one priority is listening. I want to hear from you, your needs, your challenges, your opportunities, so that we can make sure you're really getting the most from your involvement with the COG. So please don't hesitate to reach out to me directly. I'm committed to working with you to keep strengthening the San Gabriel Valley we all love. Thank you for allowing me some time today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, President Reese, for your service. I attend the COG meetings and see all the hard work you and your team put in. So thank you for visiting us today. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, thank you, Ed, and good to see you. Happy holidays to you and your team. Thank you for making us a great partner of the San Gabriel Valley COG, and thank you for providing the information that we can share with the rest of our residents in the city.
Thank you, Council Member.
Thank you, President Reese. Really appreciate you and the COG team joining us today. And we've really enjoyed a very strong partnership between the city and the COG over many years, over 30 years now. But also through the Regional Housing Trust, which the COG staff helped to implement and to operate. Really appreciate that continued partnership over the last few years as well. So thank you. Look forward to that. And did not know that's the first time seeing that 59 e-bike vouchers were from here or have been delivered here to residents in Monterey Park. So really appreciate that update, and the COG for helping to promote clean electric transportation in our community. So thank you.
I also wanted to thank you for being here tonight and for sharing a lot of the hard work that the COG has been doing. We really appreciate the work that you've done to help our city. We hope that that relationship continues to grow. On a side note, I really love the pins that you guys have. I think they're the best pins that I've seen any organization have. So hope you. But not better than ours, of course. But I really appreciate all the work that you guys do to make the San Gabriel Valley just a much more pleasant place to live, but also address a lot of the needs that we have in this area. So very appreciative of the work that you guys do, and looking forward to see that award that you mentioned earlier. Yes.
Well, thank you, Councilmember. You know, I went to the staff and said, hey, I have this idea about really bringing the San Gabriel Valley together. And it's about loving our communities and our valley. And out of that came the iHeart SGV program. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, I must say that as a resident of San Gabriel Valley, I'm really proud of the caliber of the talent at the San Gabriel Valley COG. I mean, I truly believe that we're probably one of the best COGs in California, and that's because we were closely together, we collaborated, and as my colleague mentioned, we've worked with the COG on policy issues from housing to energy, transportation in Monterey Park, and certainly we're also very proud of those on your staff who actually live in our city as well, Ricky Choi, and again, you know, it's a partnership, and we look forward to working with the COG, and again, thank you for the recognition of the Silver Award for our work in energy efficiency.
Well, Mayor Pro Tem, your perception is accurate. We are the best COG.
Of course we are.
All right, shall we come down and accept
so
the certificate?
As you come down here, I will hand off to the clerk that tonight, as a token of our appreciation, I have brought you your own lapel pins to wear both around town, around the San Gabriel Valley, and beyond to show your pride and your love for the San Gabriel Valley. So I have the pins for you, and then if you want to come down, my staff will come up and we'll bring the award.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item 8A while Mayor Pro Tem is coming back. So Garvey Improvements Project Concept Approval. Three of us have conflicts, so we're going to do a name draw to see who's going to be able to preside over this project with the other two council members. Okay, so Councilmember Wong, Councilmember Go, and myself are the ones that have conflicts. All right, so Councilmember Go drew the short stick. Yeah. So he's gonna sit in on this vote, and Mayor Pro Tem will preside over this item, and Councilmember Wong and I will recuse ourselves.
And Madam Mayor, members of the council, just for the record, the conflict is a property-related conflict. You're within 500 feet of the property or the project.
Ready? All right. All right. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, or Mayor Pro Tem, I should say, and Council. Sean Igo, Public Works Director. I also have Josh Cosper with our design team from Mark Thomas. And tonight you'll hear from us on the efforts thus far in our Garvey Avenue Improvement Project and go through the conceptual designs the community has provided input on. We will also be asking Council to provide staff and the consultant team with direction on what concepts they want to move forward with for the full design. And with that, I will pass it over to Josh.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and honorable council members, for giving us the opportunity to speak about the Garvey Avenue Garvey Avenue Improvement Project. I do have a longer version of this that'll be posted on the city's website by the end of the week, so it'll go into a little bit more detail, but in the spirit of brevity, we'll go through this relatively quick. So what we're going to cover tonight is a little bit about the project itself, the initial community outreach efforts, how the project concepts were developed and what they were, the concept-focused outreach, a second wave that occurred a little bit later, and then kind of the next steps of the project. So to the left, you could see the limits of the project. There are 3 streets within the footprint, primarily between New Avenue to Atlantic Avenue. Garvey Avenue in red is going to be the majority of the improvements we speak about, but we'll also discuss some bikeway improvements along Emerson and Newmark within those limits. The project is funded with SR 710 Mobility Improvement Project funding through LA Metro. So the three main goals you see in the green are to enhance the traffic capacity improvements, to improve pedestrian and mobility for non-vehicles, and then how to enhance and improve the downtown community atmosphere. So out of that, the outputs that you would expect to see through the project would be vehicular improvements and roadway improvements, pedestrian safety, transit, bikeways, EV charging stations, and traffic signal and lighting type improvements. And then in the upper right-hand corner, the timeline, we've just concluded the public outreach component of the project. We're cruising through the preliminary design and hoping to get the direction from you to complete the preliminary design now. And then moving into the final design such that the project will be construction ready by fall of next year and finished with the construction by the end of 2027. So the initial stage was how do we develop features to prioritize in the project, or what are we going to include that meets all these goals and outputs? And so in no particular order, they included plazas, seating areas, beautification and aesthetics, site amenities, planting, irrigation improvements, seasonal lighting and lighting safety improvements, and what to do with the on-street parking. All of this went into a big set of analysis and developed a lot of the framework of the vision boards and the presentation and exhibits that were used to start the actual initial community outreach. Again, this was to really help prioritize what to include in the project. So it started with some branding and project awareness. That was including developing a project logo, fact sheets, door hangers, a website, interactive map, including how to partner with the San Gabriel Valley COG. They had a bus rapid transit project that spans a portion of our project that we'll talk a little bit later in the presentation. But a lot of this effort was to gain traction and make the project, the public and the community aware. It included a survey, a 10 to 15 minute survey that helped ask several questions, both virtual and in paper. And also, since that was going to be more of a community-based type outreach, doing door-to-door canvassing, so within the actual project footprint, where we could talk primarily to the businesses and the residents right on the project corridor. Additionally, the project team attended with a booth the city's Independence Day celebration to promote the awareness. We conducted 2 in-person meetings and a virtual meeting all in September. All of this was advertised through a lot of the city's social media and other platforms. Some of the big major highlights, though, it was multilingual. This was done in Chinese, Spanish, English. You'll see on the next slide. I'll start with the lower right-hand corner, but over 400 surveys were received from the public. 175 business owners and occupants, employees, residents through the door-to-door canvassing spoken to, and we connected with 50 people in the community meetings. So what were the inputs and from the actual, especially the survey? If you look to the left, there were 2 resounding items that we heard from everybody at the top 2. Adding walking areas and really the pedestrian mobility, but also adding the site amenities and the features that are going to enhance the downtown community. But kind of second tier to that were really close, but a little bit behind, maintaining the 4 lanes, bikeways, improving transit, and maintaining parking. So when some of the other features we heard, especially from the businesses, is how can we improve the landscaping, especially something more modern. But the parking is very vital to the downtown businesses, and that create potential for dining areas. So we took all that, heard it as we were developing what to consider into the project concepts. And so looking at the left, what does Garvey Avenue generally look like? There's 10 to 12 foot sidewalks, 4 lanes, a median, parking, revisiting the LA Metro goals of how to improve traffic capacity, enhancing the non-motorist safety and mobility, and then the improving the downtown. And so really we bottled that up, and it was, okay, how do we optimize the sidewalk and those downtown amenities and all of the alternatives? What can we do to make it as future-proof in case the city has other projects that they're evaluating, or likes the idea of maybe switching alternatives in the future because priorities change, so making it future-proof. And so with that, we developed the first concept. As you can see, this is consistent with all of the alternatives on the outside, 14 to 16-foot sidewalks. That additional 4 foot is very big. It allows the opportunities we talked about previously with the dining, the more mobility. But how did we accommodate the extra footprint? It came with reducing the roadway lane widths to something, there are several standards out there that will justify a slower or lower lane widths equal slower speeds, equal better traffic flow, equal more safe conditions. It's also consistent with the city's Vision Zero plan as well. So this alternative was really maintaining the roadway and the sidewalk. I will note, though, that the sidewalk, to fit within the budget that was allowed with the project for LA Metro, the sidewalk widening would only occur between Lincoln Avenue and Atlantic. The rest of it would be more of a pavement refresh, ADA compliancy, get things up to speed and improve to refresh. So then this is what it looks like in the actual plan view at the Garfield Avenue intersection. The main component, you can see that, then we'll talk a little bit about this as the presentation goes on, but some of the other key features that we did is we improved the bus stops. Those will be a component of this, but also adding what are called curb extensions. The idea is the bulbs out into the road slightly. That helps reduce the speeds. It helps reduce the length between the crossings for the pedestrians, so it makes safer crossings as well. So that is primarily the first alternative. The city partnered with San Gabriel Valley Coalition of Governments. They have a regional bus rapid transit project that they're preparing for and looking at in the spirit of looking at the 2028 Olympics that connects downtown LA to Pomona. There are several stops and Olympic events that'll be along this corridor, but this is also to improve regional transit. So this alternative maintained those same wide sidewalks, maintained the parking, but rather than having 4 lanes, it took the outer lanes and reduced those to bus rapid transit. So it's 2 lanes plus a bus rapid transit dedicated lane that you see in the orange red. This is a plan view of it. One of the key components, though, is as you approach intersections, you see the dashed red striping that allows through traffic to cross over. It's conflict striping to use as right turn pockets, so there's still the ability to access the side streets easily. Lastly, heard about what to do with the bikes. Additionally, the city, separate from this project, is evaluating a parking structure project in the downtown area. So this was more looking at, okay, same sidewalks, 4 lanes, but converting the parking to Class 2 buffered bikeways to have a bicycle, bikeway or new bikeway along Garvey Avenue. Very compatible with that future parking structure project. This is the plan view, nothing really different, but you can see some of the bike striping improvements we'll talk about from a safety perspective to help with left turns and connectivity. Additionally, with that, we adopted or we prepared 3 different aesthetic and architectural themes to evaluate with the public. This is what's called the urban vitality. This is like a colorful, fun architectural theme. Where you'll see this is the Downtown Arts District in Los Angeles, and you can see a lot of the vibrant colors. Then there's the more timeless classic, the urban serenity that's more earth tones, metals, stone, kind of blends in everywhere that you could see in the pictures. These are pretty popular. The Playhouse District in Pasadena, also the Grove in Los Angeles. And then lastly, the contemporary oriental that takes a blend of the heritage and some ability to take ornamental architectural features and put it together, as you see, and where you see the Blossom Plaza in Los Angeles is probably the closest place is this to where you see this kind of architectural theme. We also developed a project-specific planting palette that was consistent with the urban forestry plan of the city and the city's sustainability plan. But some of the key components of this is drought tolerant, also taking the street trees and what can we do to make them alternating from evergreen to flowering and colorful that might complement something seasonal like the Lunar New Year festival downtown. And then lastly, what to do to complement and improve the colors from the architectural themes we just talked about. Also, we talked about bikeways, Emerson and Newmark along the corridor. Those will be on all alternatives of doing what are called Class 3 shared bikeways, where the bikes and the vehicles share the traffic. Those are usually done in kind of smaller, 2-lane, slower speed, lower volume areas. That will be common to all of them. Additionally, we will provide some bikeway improvements along Atlantic Avenue that will connect to the Monterey Pass Road bikeway improvements that are going on in the design phase currently. And that you could see some north-south connectors to provide some connectivity to Garvey Avenue. All of this is consistent with the city's planned bikeway network. These are some of the features specifically, and like I said, you could see pictures along Emerson and Newmark or renderings at what the bikeways would look like for the Class 3. As you approach any kind of turn situations along the right, there's the ability to add safety elements for bike boxes or two-stage left turns, and then the ability for wayfinding signage and bicycle racks along the corridor, especially at the Garvey connections. Consistent with the city's Vision Zero plan, pedestrian safety elements. I already talked about the curb extensions and the bulb outs, the improved ADA sidewalks and making sure all the ramps are ADA compliant, the high visibility crosswalks that you'll have at the major crossing areas, and any kind of striping features we can do to really alert drivers to pedestrian conflict areas. Lastly, signals, lighting improvements from a safety and an operations, but also there's the opportunity with that seasonal features like Lunar New Year to do LED programmable lighting that might be able to complement any kind of city festivals along Garvey Avenue. So we took all that, packaged it into several boards and exhibits and strip maps and whatnot, and developed a second, more detailed survey, more focused on helping prioritize the concepts to the community as well as the architectural themes. Again, knowing and seeing that it was more community-based folks participating in the surveys, we did a second round early November of door-to-door canvassing, really targeting the businesses and the employees of the businesses. Did more community meetings and pop-ups, including the Monster Mash booth, the farmers market shortly thereafter, and 2 in-person meetings early November. Advertised all through the city's social media. And so what did the public say? As you can see, not everybody of the 509 people participated in voting for the alternative. Some voted for none, but the majority provided some sort of vote. And alternative 1 and alternative 3, the roadway with the parking and the roadway with the buffered bike lanes were the 2 primary favorites by the community. But stepping back, of those voters, only 8% of the voters either work or own a business along the corridor. So it was, again, more community-centric. Additionally, from the the architectural, there we go. The results, overwhelmingly, the urban serenity was the favorite from the community. And ultimately, it was the most flexible of the 3 alternatives in terms of options that you can integrate with it and cost effective, but also it's got the most compatibility with the existing and future architecture. So, we actually had more success with surveys, many of which were new survey participants, not just all old, 509, 166 businesses, over 400 people connected with and discussed in person at the different various events. All multilingual, again, same Chinese, Spanish, English. between October and November. So in terms of next steps, what we recommend to the City Council for direction is approval of Alternative 1. It seemed to have the most support when you consider both businesses and the community. It also didn't have any kind of a preclusion to the ability to incorporate the bus rapid transit improvements that San Gabriel Valley COGS team has been discussing with the city over the last month and into the early part of next year. Additionally, it doesn't take away parking or impact any of the businesses, so it would be maybe the least impactful in that situation, but also easily integratable with the future parking structure project. The option 2, the urban serenity, from an architectural theme for your approval, any input that we can receive from you at the end of this and any questions we're happy to answer. Again, just from the refresh on the timeline, we're trying to conclude the preliminary design so we can get the project construction ready by fall of next year and winter of 2027 complete construction. With that said, thank you for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity to present this project and open it up to any questions or input you have.
Thank you, staff, for that presentation. Members, oh, hello. Members, any questions or comments?
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I think I would been to like 3 of those in the market and saw a lot of participants who actually were involved, and they came with, the second time, third time, they came with the markers, pens, and really drew up the diagram. I like the presentation. I like what you guys had to focus on, which is Alternative 1. I mean, again, consistently for me, my top 3 priorities here are safety, flow, and aesthetics in that order. And I think you have that, and it looks like it's consistent to what you guys are presenting, so I'm in support of what you guys got there.
Right. Thank you, Councilmember Go. Councilmember Sanchez.
I have some questions. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I think it's very exciting to see what potentially the Garvey Downtown District will look like. And I know a lot of people are very excited to see this project come to fruition, but also what it potentially holds for us as a city. I think it's going to be a great marker for us in terms of where we can be. In terms of, so are we being asked tonight, just to clarify, to give direction? Are we taking a vote on a particular plan? I know that there was 3 options that were provided.
Correct, Councilmember Sanchez. Yes, tonight we are asking for direction from the council. So yes, our staff and consultants made recommendations for the councils to consider. However, we're here to also hear your feedback. But yes, we are looking for direction. With this direction, we would move the project into its next phase, which is actually to go through the design work. So yes, we would need formalized direction.
Yeah, and just if I might add to that, so the other benefit, as Josh pointed out earlier, is that going with the first alternative gives us the opportunity in the future, should we decide that we want to add bike lanes to this segment of Garvey, we can do that with simple striping. There's not going to be a huge construction cost to redo sidewalk, asphalt, anything like that. So this is a nice alternative that gives us options for the future. Additionally, I know Josh pointed out that the construction cost and the sidewalk at Lincoln, we are actively working with Metro to look at extending that the full duration of this segment along Garvey to new. So once we hear back from Metro officially, then we can add that segment of sidewalk to the full portion of Garvey.
Sorry, can we go back to the 3 options? Yes. So the option that got the most amount of votes, and I mean, there was 400. You said 400 votes in total, right? And I like Councilmember Go, I also went to a lot of these, and I like all of them, but the one with the bike lanes, which is Alternative 3, is that correct? With
correct.
I know that this council and has talked in the past about extending and adding bike lanes, not just down the Garvey district, but throughout the city that would connect the city. So I think this is a great opportunity for us to be able to add bike lane paths to our city, especially in the downtown district, to be able to encourage residents to be able to bike down to the downtown district, especially as this project comes to fruition, and to explore this area. So I personally would like to see bike lane paths. I know that I also serve on the Metro Council and Service Council, and I know that the importance of the Metro bus lane path or dedicated path. But I had some questions about that. I know we discussed this in the last council meeting, but should the COG move forward with, or should we move forward with the potential project encouraged by the COG to add a dedicated bus lane path? Would that lane, all 24 hours a day, be a dedicated bus lane path?
That's still up for debate. So that's really going to be council's prerogative if they want to support that as an option. There are other alternatives. You could do durations during a certain periods of time. If you want to, have that during peak flow, going toward LA in the morning and coming from LA in the evening, that is an alternative. The COG would need to provide those statistics to show the benefits to either option.
And I know that the only drawback with adding at least the way I see it, the bike lane path would be the loss of the dedicated parking spaces that are already there, right?
Correct.
But we are planning to add a parking structure to this area.
Yes, long-term, the goal is to add a parking structure. Again, I think that's why we're recommending alternative one, because right now we don't have a parking structure. And so by doing alternative one, it allows us to retain the parking that's existing, and then in the future, when that parking structure is built, then we can look at and evaluate removing those parking spaces to put bike lanes back in.
Okay, and then, Sean, I'm not sure if you might know this off the top of your head, but when is our expected date for completion for the structure, parking structure?
Structure, so we're finalizing our parking study to give to Metro. We anticipate giving that to Metro anytime soon now. Once we get their okay, then we can start looking at getting those funds allocated to us to build the structure. So then we'll go out to design, then construction. So I would say we're probably at least 3+ years out before that would be completed.
3 years, you said?
3+, yes.
3+ years, okay. So in 3+ years, if we moved forward with, let's say, alternative one, which is what you guys are recommending, we can come back and look at removing the parking, if the council wishes to, and adding the bike lane path.
Correct. That is correct. And then I also might point out, the project that we have before you tonight doesn't preclude people from using Garvey for their bikes now. They can use Garvey as a pathway for their bicycles. Additionally, alternative one does have sharrows, which is bike lanes in essence, along Newmark and Emerson, thank you. So again, there is still bike connectivity along those thoroughfares, and then also you have thoroughfares that come down to connect from Emerson and also up from Newmark to connect to Garvey. So there's still alternatives to use bikes for concept or alternative one.
I mean, given that most of the votes, if I'm reading this correctly, were alternative 3 with the dedicated bike lane, I'm wondering if we still need to potentially do more community input in terms of option 1 or alternative 1 and 3. I mean, I understand why the alternative 1 would be recommended, but I still feel that this is a great opportunity to add a bike lane path, and given that the majority of the people who did complete the survey want the dedicated bike lane path, that is if I'm reading this correctly, is that right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may.
Yes.
So, correct, Councilmember Sanchez, the survey results does indicate that the community members that took the survey, yes, alternative 3 had the highest vote. 8%, to the bottom of the slide, 8% of those respondents work or own a business in the area. So I wanted to ask again about businesses in the area and their responses to the potential of lost parking. Can you reiterate that portion, please?
Yeah, overwhelmingly of the 160 plus and both downtown canvassing efforts were against the bikeways and wanted the parking. It just, they didn't fill out the survey, so it's a little bit misleading when you see the actual results. But when discussed verbally and with them, there was a very adamant, we want parking as part of this project. Don't touch our parking.
So just for clarification, we wanted to make sure that the recommendation tonight for alternative one allows some flexibility in the future to potentially either remove the parking and allow for bike lanes in the future, or potentially allow for a bus rapid transit lane. So yes, there are mixed reviews from businesses versus community members in taking the survey. And so that's what we were trying to capture when we're thinking about the removal of the parking lane as well. So alternative one was recommendation at this time because it allows some flexibility as we're still planning for potentially the bus rapid transit lanes, and potentially for hopefully the parking structure comes sooner than we anticipate. And then there'll be some additional parking available on the parking structure. As a reminder, the parking structure is slated to be at the Lincoln Garvey area. So that's the only parking structure that we're looking at this time. So there would only be that one access to that structure. So I think the businesses were concerned about losing that frontage parking. So wanted to make sure that we're sharing those comments back from the businesses as well.
Yes, wait, I'm sorry. Do you have any additional comments? Councilman
Yes, I had just one more question, actually. Do we know, and I'm not sure if you have this data, Sean, available, but how many businesses either have or don't have their own available parking space? Because I know that a lot of businesses on Garvey do have parking space. I'm thinking like just the ones that I visit regularly, like Pronto Donuts, for example. They have plenty of parking there, right? I never have trouble parking in there, but I know that there are potentially some other businesses that don't.
Yeah, I don't have those numbers off the top of my head, but what I can tell you, it's definitely mixed. Even some of the ones that do have parking, they're limited. So there are many businesses along Garvey that will only have a few parking spaces that don't accommodate for the needs of them. So people are parking on the street. So I think that, again, looking at today's environment, alternative one retains that parking, but gives us the flexibility with minimal costs to expand out should we. So again, I think that once the structure is built, then we can go back out to the not only the community, but the businesses and talk to them about the structure being built, the additional parking that's available. Now we have additional sidewalk space where people can walk through the downtown area. So again, I think that, either option would work, but ideally one gives us more flexibility down the road.
Thank you. And then just one more question can we move to the next slide with the aesthetic options? I personally, because I have kids, really like the first option because it just seems a lot more family friendly. But I do understand that I think it's the Urban Serenity. Is that what it's called? The
Correct.
Urban Serenity is the one that got the most amount of votes by far. And the one that I like is the one that got the least amount of votes. All of them look amazing and all of them look great. So I think any of those would be a great improvement for our city. But was there a separate page just for the Urban Serenity slide? Was there a separate slide for that one?
Yes.
Just so I can see a little bit more in detail. Is that? Yes.
This is Urban Serenity.
Okay. And just so I understand it, is there a lot more vegetation in this one compared to the other ones?
No, it's all going to be a similar spacing of trees, spacing of landscaping. It's more the accent features around, like the tree grates will be more of a copper or bronze, or it might be some sort of decorative earth tone type hardscape along the way. But the landscaping and the plushness is going to be the same regardless of the alternatives. It's more just the accent features around what kind of colors, what kind of styles are going to be.
I see. Okay. I just don't know why the one I voted for didn't get enough votes. I'm just kidding. But I'm just being biased. But anyhow, they all look amazing. They all look great. I'm just more concerned about the parking situation. I completely understand where businesses are coming from. And then, yeah, that's all my questions for now.
Thank you, Councilmember Shantz. Councilmember Go, yes?
Thank you. I have a follow-up, actually. Looking at the maps right now where you have, help me understand here. So if we went with alternative 3, the bike lane would be on Garvey, not on, that would be it. Based on that alternative, correct?
No, the Emerson and Newmark will get the Sharrows regardless of the alternative. This would just provide a bike thoroughfare down Garvey.
So there would be 3 bike lanes
That is
if
correct.
you went to alternative 3. Now, if you went with alternative 1, you would still have the 2 bike lanes on Emerson and Newmark.
That is correct. And one thing to remember too, there's 3 streets, McFerrin, Alhambra, and Orange, that will have north-south Sherrod connectors or class 2. And then at those junctions with Garvey, that would be the most ideal place for wayfinding signage, bike racks, any other kind of bike amenities too. So the idea is still to provide at kind of half-mile, quarter-mile intervals connectivity such that you can still be very bike-friendly with alternative 1.
Okay, well, my mind didn't change. I just wanted to confirm that because it's still, to me, the safety is the most important thing here. And I just worry with Garvey being such a heavy flow traffic route, if you put bike lanes there, unless you do dedicated, otherwise you're just bound to have accidents. Versus if you put them on Emerson and Newmark, I think it's probably a smoother ride. Less car, less flow, and I still like the fact that, well, alternative 1, you still have the flexibility. Should something happen with the bus lanes and the bike lane, you convert that later, you still have that flexibility. And I think we really need to consider the downtown area, business district area with the parking. I know they have the parking lots, but in the scheme of things, that's not enough. That's why it overflows to the street, and I've seen that. So, and I'm glad we still have time to do this. So I think we still go with what's flexible, but taking the order of safety, flow of traffic, and then aesthetics to me is nice to have, but not critical at this point. So.
Yes, Councilmember Sanchez, yes.
Can I ask one more question? For the alternative 3, did you say that was a class 3 bike lane?
Class 2, it's a buffered bike lane. So there'll be a 2-foot striped buffer between the bikeway and the traffic. And then we talked about curb extensions. As you get closer, those would bulb out normally where the parking would be into the roadway. But what you do is it's called a protected intersection, where effectively in alternative 1, they can act as additional ADA ramps, and maybe you could even take some of the parking and convert it to ADA parking. But in the ultimate, the cyclist would go through that. There's like a ramp that would effectively go, or a cut through that they can go and have their kind of protected zone as they're crossing through intersections. So it would be, even the curb extensions we talked about would be compatible with both bikes or keeping it parking.
I see. And then what would a class 3 bike lane look like then?
This would not meet state law for class 3. Unfortunately, your volumes and your speeds are too high for class 3, where you share the traffic.
Okay. When you guys talk to businesses about extending the sidewalks, how did they feel about that?
They actually generally liked it. They thought the idea, most, especially the ones that were more with food or dining opportunities, were thrilled about the idea. But many thought about, you start putting benches or lights or others, and it starts crowding that 10 feet and really narrowing the walkway areas. So generally, they were all in favor of wider sidewalks.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, colleagues? Okay, thank you. I have some questions. Again, I know it's in a staff report, but again, just so for public edification, this funding is coming from Metro funding for 710 mobility project, right? Again,
That's
that
correct.
was the money that was set aside for communities like Monterey Park, with the elimination of what was then the 710 tunnel project, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Have we And, I know, and again, thank you for doing this, what seems like a very comprehensive survey. Have we also been conferring with Metro about these results? Have we been also communicating with Metro about this?
We update Metro on our progress on these items, yes.
And the reason why I bring it up is because I know that on the previous project, which the council at the time ultimately rejected, I know Metro had concerns about that project, and so I think it's important that we also make sure that we are communicating with Metro so they know and they get feedback, because ultimately they are the grantors, meaning, right, that they still have to approve what we give to them in terms of getting the money to fund these projects, correct?
That's correct. And I will tell you that Metro is pleased with how far along we are with our project.
Okay,
So
that's good to
they
know.
are definitely supportive.
Okay, no, again, no, good, and again, that's important to me because again, since I think we have to be very careful to make sure that since Metro is the grantor, that we work closely with them. Having said that, I also want to ask, I guess, call it hypotheticals. In a hypothetical, if we were to say adopt alternative 3, the buffered bike lanes, and then in a hypothetical, the COG who presented before for the BRT project comes back and says, hey, we got the funding. What does that mean for alternative 3? Should the COG come back and say, we have full funding, we want to implement BRT with the city's blessing, but what does that also mean, though, given in a hypothetical, should we adopt alternative 3? I'm curious, what does that mean in practicality?
Luckily for us, the parking is the exact same width as the bikeway, so it is entirely interchangeable. And ultimately, whether we adopt 3 and it changes to 2 in the future, or 1 and it changes to 2 in the future, it is more or less just a restriping exercise, no reconstruction.
Well, it's a restriping. What I'm trying to get at is that, again, you're still striping what is, I guess, now parking for the bike lanes, and in the event that we then had to restripe again for a BRT, doesn't that mean, though, then we would have to essentially remove the bike lane, or at least minimize it, because in favor of a bus? I'm curious.
No, the parking is, the idea with the difference between 2 and 3 with respect, it's the parking or bikeways. It's the same difference between 1 and 3. And so the width is exactly the same. The cross-sectional footprint is exactly the same.
So think about it this way. There hypothetically could be an alternative 4, which would include the BRT and bike lanes and 1 through lane.
Wait, say it again?
So
1 through lane?
Yes, so take alternative 2.
Wait.
Take alternative 2 with 1 through lane on Garvey, the BRT, and then remove that parking and add, each direction. So one in each direction. Not 1 lane, but 2 lanes. 1 lane in each direction for.
But that does mean, though, that you are essentially then, in order to accommodate a BRT and a bike lane, you would essentially be removing then a lane for vehicular traffic.
That's correct.
Like you yourself said,
That's
it's
correct.
2 lanes, but 1 going west, 1 going east.
Correct. That's correct.
You're doing that with alternative 2 as it is, though.
Yes.
It's alternative 2 is 1 lane each direction and the BRT and the parking. So basically, alternative 2 is already what you're concerned about in that capacity. It's 1 lane each direction vehiculars, BRT, on-street parking. What we're saying is that on-street parking could also be bikeways instead.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may. So yes, spacing is the issue, correct? So right now, with alternative 1, this still allows for some flexibility for the future. So you maintain parking for now. If the council chooses in the future, because you're still having your sharrows on Emerson and Newmark, if in the future, whether that's for a BRT lane or potentially bike lanes on Garvey, that parking lane could be either one. If council, the community is interested in having both a bike lane and a bike lane and a bus lane, then that would reduce the space to just 1 lane for vehicle traffic.
Okay. I think that's something that the public needs to understand as well. And the reason why and believe me, look, I support the pedestrian safety measures. I think that's important. Again, we all are told about how, safety on Garvey is important. We want it to be pedestrian friendly. However, again, going back to the previous project, which the council rejected, as well-intentioned as a parking structure is, you are talking about proximity, meaning that if you're, say, Divine's antique store, well, that parking structure is still a few blocks away on Lincoln, and that still means that someone, either Divine's or even the restaurants close by, I mean, even if someone parks in this parking structure, it's still a couple of blocks of walking. And I think this is also probably why, with the previous project, why those objections from those businesses who were further away from Lincoln and closer to New Avenue. And I think those, and right now, Garvey is still used by commuters getting through Los Angeles to the other San Diego Valley cities. And so certainly, I wonder too if the business understand that depending on what we choose, it could mean a reduction of vehicular flow. And here's where I wish we had a better physical layout. So because we're only six lanes, that means, again, depending on what alternative we choose, we are talking about taking away a lane for vehicular traffic. Now, in neighboring Los Angeles, in the community of El Sereno, they have adopted, my understanding is, a BRT and a bike lane. The difference, though, is that it is 8 lanes, and so they essentially have the luxury of basically, actually keeping parking, adding a BRT and a bike lane, and still allow for 4 lanes of vehicular traffic. We, unfortunately, because we're 6 lanes, I think that's something that we need to really think careful about, and also because staff has said the parking structure project is 3+ years away, and therefore, depending on what we choose, there is going to be some impact to businesses, and I think that that's going to be very careful about thinking, given that our businesses are still recovering, and not to mention the uncertainty about some of the other development projects, which I know we've approved, but they seem to be lingering, like the Celadon project, like other projects. And again, a lot of these projects, which I do support, they are centered mostly in what we call downtown, which is just an intersection of Garfield and Garvey. And yet, the further we go away, I think the impacts will be felt more. And so I think, and also, I do like what the COG has presented with the BRT proposal. However, my understanding is that it's still not a done deal. There's still questions about funding. And 2, even if we were to approve a BRT project, I don't know what Rosemead will do because it will impact, and nor will neighboring El Monte. And so I think that's something we need to keep in mind as well. In other words, what we decide, but again, especially given that there are factors and externalities that are in some ways beyond our own control. And having said that, and again, look, I think we need more bike lanes. And again, as someone who takes the bus to work, sometimes I favor actually having more alternatives. However, given some of the externalities, which I think we're still unknowns, I would say that alternative 1 gives us the most flexibility, to be honest.
One thing I might add is that the idea too behind the parking structure is also a potential transit hub. And so that could provide some interconnect with businesses that may be further away with utilizing our microtransit program or having other alternatives to get to those businesses. So there are opportunities to connect businesses to that parking structure that we have at our fingertips today. I'm not saying that that's the end-all be-all to fix the challenges, but it is an opportunity to utilize the things that we have at our fingertips today. So the other thing I want to talk about too is that we really have 4 lanes of travel through Garvey. The 2 outer lanes are not really lanes, right? They're parking, they're a potential bike lane, but to put a rapid transit lane through the parking lane is really not feasible. Part of that is because our goal for this project is not just looking at vehicular travel, but pedestrian travel and pedestrian safety. So these bulb outs that we're constructing, it's really to provide significant pedestrian safety, to shorten those times that the pedestrians are crossing those intersections. And by doing that, that doesn't allow for a through lane for that rapid transit line. So that's something the council really needs to think about too, is that really we have 4 lanes that we're able to use for vehicular travel, whether that's bus lanes or vehicular travel.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. Well, I mean, again, I thank you so much. I think this is actually a really good, robust conversation. And again, and again, I think it's important that we need to continue these conversations because, look, the money is very scarce. I mean, it sounds like a lot of money, but again, it's really limited because it's what was allocated by Metro for what was then a different project, and it is also, as a reminder, it is being allocated to several cities in the San Gabriel Valley. So I think, I think until we have a lot of these externality issues resolved, I would say, I think for now, the staff recommendation is something we should probably look at, given that we also have flexibility when we have more clarification on these other projects. So, and with that, questions?
I'd be happy to make a motion to continue forward with the project, given what we heard today, the most flexibility and safety being the key here. So I'll make the motion.
Okay.
And I think as we move forward with this, regardless of which option is chosen, I think that we still need to come back and revisit this, especially with the bike lane paths, because we also have to realize that that is the alternative that received the most amount of votes. So we have to take into account that there's a lot of residents that came out and voted wanting to add bike lane paths to the downtown district. And so some of them I spoke to and are really interested in being able to bike from their home to the downtown district and be able to bike back. But I think that we need to Mayor Pro Tem's point. I think a lot of this stuff still needs to be answered, especially with the dedicated bus lane. I will say that particular bus line, which I believe is the 70 line, is probably one of the most transited lines.
Yes, it is.
And so it's very important for us to find a way to be able, if we can. But I understand losing a lane of traffic would be very troublesome, I think, or cumbersome. But anyhow, I would also second Councilmember Go's motion, but with the, if we're going with alternative 1, I'm assuming we're going with the aesthetic of the urban serenity, is that correct?
That would be correct.
Which I'm fine with. Which is very nice. But anyhow, my daughters who were just here earlier, I think are going to be upset at me. Hopefully they're not watching at home right now. But anyhow, but I think my last comment is just to make sure that we find the time to be able to have those conversations with Metro about the COG, but also with our community about those bike lane paths.
Sure. So is that a second? Okay. Okay. Well, no further comments or questions, and I will. A motion is made. It's been seconded. Members, please vote.
Approved unanimously.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I know we've approved it, but can I also make a suggestion too? Is that, as I mentioned, I know presentations have been made to our neighbors like Rosemead, and I'm assuming Monty. It would probably be helpful to us as well to know what they're thinking, or whether or not we need to even entertain having some type of joint conversation. Because again, I would hate for us to go through this exercise. And again, thank you, staff, for being thoughtful in serving businesses and residents. I'm just concerned also is that, because again, as much as we celebrate that the San Gabriel Valley is 21 plus cities, but it's because it's 21 plus cities that we also need to make sure that we communicate more with neighboring cities to coordinate. And so I would strongly suggest that especially with the BRT, we have some conversations with the neighboring cities, which COG is proposing for this project, it would be helpful to me, and I'm sure to my colleagues, about what they're thinking, what their input is on that project, which will run through their cities as well.
And if I could say one more comment, I really appreciated, by the way, when we did the community outreach, that we engaged the community. I saw a lot of people come out and share their thoughts, but I really appreciated the side family table that you had for kids. I think that was probably one of the first times I've seen us implement that, and I think that was very, very well done. And I think for parents who want to come out to a lot of these events and be able to share their voices, sometimes don't, because they don't know what they can do with their kids. So I really appreciate that we do that, and we take that example when we do our own community outreach. We could have potentially Sean back there, or the police chief. My kids came out earlier and they were looking to be engaged, so I'm just kidding. But I'm just joking on that part. But I think that was really well done. I wanted to make sure that I mentioned that to you.
Mayor Pro Tem, just to reiterate, we did note, speaking with Rosemead and Almani, to ensure that if the bus rapid transit lane concepts move forward, I understand that the connectivity is important for council, so we did note that. And just to reiterate, so the council's recommendation was to move forward with staff recommendation
yes.
for alternative 1 and option 2.
Yes.
Alternative 1, that's a traffic pattern, and then option 2, which was the urban serenity.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Shall we go get the?
Hello.
All right, let's move on to the consent calendar. Item 9. Do we want to pull any items? No?
I'll pull 9B.
9B, okay. Any other ones?
Sorry, I'll pull 9E.
9E?
Yes.
Okay.
And if there aren't any other items being pulled, I'd be more than happy to approve
right.
or make a motion to approve the remaining items.
And then just for Carl, for item 9F, I think there are council members that have a conflict. Is that, I don't remember if that, is that, I think there are 3 of us that have a conflict.
Do we keep the straws?
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I did look at the conflicts list. I did not see those were potential conflicts, not actual conflicts.
Okay.
So the fiber optics will be under the ground, will not be triggering any of the requirements under the FPPC regulations.
Okay, all right.
All right, so Councilmember Sanchez moves. Do we have a second? Councilmember Wong seconds. Let's vote.
Approved unanimously.
Thank you. All right, so let's discuss item 9B.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and Council. Laura Bourgeon, Finance Manager with the City of Monterey Parks Finance Department. The city's auditor, the Poon Group, an independent auditor and one of the nation's leading certified public accounting firms, completed the audit of the city's annual financial statements for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025. The audited financial statements are incorporated into an annual comprehensive financial report, or ACFR. It's my pleasure to present the annual comprehensive financial report for fiscal year 24-25. Today we'll be doing a brief review of the annual comprehensive financial statement, the general fund revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. I am proud to inform you that the city received an unmodified or clean opinion, which means our third-party auditor is able to provide a reasonable level of assurance that the financial statements present a true and fair reflection of our city's finances for the reported period. Another achievement that I'm proud to present is the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting, which we have received for 36 consecutive years. We're confident that the fiscal year 24-25 ACFR will be the 37th. The city's general fund revenues came in at $74.2 million, of which $4 million was for TOT, or hotel tax, $19.8 million was sales tax, and $25.1 million was property tax. General fund expenditures came out to $70.3 million, along with $0.7 million in other financing sources. General fund balance for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025 is $46.5 million, which is $4.6 million over the previous year. This concludes my presentation. Staff is here and available to answer any questions.
Thank you for that presentation. Any questions?
As I find my questions, can you remind me, because I may have missed it, so the ACFR for the, well, first, appreciate staff and the audit team. I know a lot goes into making sure the full audit is completed and completed on time in particular. Appreciate the PUN group and all the work that went into this. Can you remind high level what are, I'm trying not to call it surplus because it's not, but what our net revenues were last fiscal year from the audit?
The net revenues were, it was $3.6 million.
And then I noticed that in the ACFR, right, the current, as of June 30th, 2025, right, the breakdown for the general fund reserve, right, that's about $46,500,000. Close to $14 million of that is for catastrophic events. $32 million is assigned for capital projects, or committed to, or assigned to capital projects, excuse me, for projects that are already on our SIP list, but those can be changed because we have a SIP list that's much larger than that, right? And then there's only about $650,000 in unassigned funds. Does that general fund reserve already include the net revenues that we generated from that year, from the last fiscal year?
That's correct.
So those are just assigned to SIP projects generally?
Correct. $3 million of the surplus was assigned to CIP projects. They are not yet allocated by council.
Great. And then so I just want to note that, right, kudos to the city staff, all of my fellow councilors as well on the council for achieving that net position, right, the positive net position in terms of the ACFR and our financials and our budget here in Monterey Park. Great achievement, particularly compared to some of our neighboring communities that are not doing as well and are dealing with cuts. So appreciate that, and our city hall workers and everyone that's been working collaboratively with us on very conservative and responsible financial management in a position to do that. But I'd also note, right, if you can help me to highlight our existing liabilities, right, our PERS, OPEB, and there's also other liabilities. Can you just detail, I don't know if you have a slide on that at all, but I'm going to find the page where it's also listed when I am able to, but if you can kind of just talk through our existing liabilities for the city, long-term liabilities.
Are you asking about our debt service or just different liabilities? Because we have like workers' comp liabilities, we have, and then we also have debt service.
If you have, well, not debt service, because we've got a function to pay that right down, but existing liabilities, right, we have the pension obligation bond, but our liability, we still have net liabilities to PERS for unfunded liability or unfunded PERS liabilities, right?
We do have a UAL that which I will bring back at during our budget workshop, but we still own over 90% of our pensions, which is, we're in really good standing. And yes, we do have a UAL, but I understand that because CalPERS is always 2-3 years behind on their interest and reporting, we are expecting a reduction in our UAL for next fiscal year, and crossing fingers that happens, but we are expecting a reduction on the UAL. For other liabilities that we have that's non-debt service, we have workers' comp and general liability, and we do provide that an actuarial number in our ACFR of potential, what it would be valued at a point in time if we were to have to pay everything out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll be paying that out. But that liability amount includes workers' comp, it includes other general liability issues that we may have. So it includes quite a bit of things. It's not, it's an actual aerial report, not that can go to fruition, but not necessarily.
Great. So I'm hopeful as well that the PERS unfunded accrued liability will shrink, but also and I'm hopeful that that stays the case. Of course, if the market changes, that may not happen. So we have to be cautious about that and continue. I know PERS and we will continue to manage and operate as conservatively as possible, and we're obviously going to report the numbers in arrears, right? Essentially in arrears. For OPEB liabilities, do you have an idea, as I look for it as well in the ACFR, of what the scale, $10, $20 million in terms of what our OPEB liabilities are?
So with our OPEB, we also have a trust that we also invest $1 million general fund dollars a year, and it's through the budget process that we do that. But we are currently own probably about 40% of it, and I don't have the number in front of me to know what our current UAL is for OPEB, but it's still strong in our, based on our assumptions of possible calculations that we have. We still have a very strong ownership of our OPEB.
No, I appreciate that. So I'm looking at page 86 of the agenda. I don't know what page of the ACFR it is, but if I'm reading this right, please tell me if I'm not. Our current net pension liabilities are listed at about $19 million. Our net OPEB liabilities listed at about $16 million as of June 2025. And then there's also the claims. And you mentioned kind of workers' comp and other claims. We have liabilities there. I'm just curious. So I just want to give one point I'm trying to make here is that we may have been net positive in terms of our annual financials, but there's still long-term liabilities that exceed even our existing general fund reserves.
That's correct.
So
yes,
we're not, there's still a lot of things we need to pay down in terms of long-term debt.
That's correct.
And then I'm just curious on the liabilities. Can you detail how that works? I actually don't know, and I'm trying to understand, right? So we have workers' comp and other claims against the city that have been made, right? Settlement lawsuits and settlements from people. Is that number that's listed as our liability, is that existing settlements that we're paying out over time, or is that right now what we owe?
It's
and
assumptions.
that?
There are assumptions we do have current claims and other potential claims, but they're all, they're assumptions that are used. And then they have, our actual aerials, you have a format that they use to calculate what that number is.
Okay, so there are claims in process. We've signed potential costs, right, liabilities for some of those claims. Some of that is also claims that we have settled that we're paying out over time. Is that right?
Correct.
No, she's
We don't have any claims.
Christine's saying no.
We just pay them directly.
Hi, Christine Tomikawa, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. So based on any of the city's open claims, that's what the actuarials look at. So general liability usually has a shorter lifetime than workers' comp claims, because workers' comp claims usually go for the lifetime of the employee. Even if they're no longer employed by the city, we still potentially pay out over time. So any Usually for general liability claims, once we settle a claim, we don't pay it out over time. We pay it out in one lump sum. So, but any open general liability claims that maybe are in litigation or we're still working through, those are what are included in that actuarial number. So majority of that number is probably based on workers' comp liabilities.
That's very helpful. Thank you. So majority of the liabilities listed in the act for, in that sense, is workers' comp. Some of it is also, right, trip and falls, those kind of settlements that were and other claims against the city in terms of our infrastructure or other issues, external parties, right, not employees.
Correct.
Suing the city because of something, and potentially, we're estimating potential payout for some of those things.
Yes, that would be the general liability, yes.
So one, helpful to make sure we're addressing infrastructure replacement and maintaining our infrastructure to reduce liabilities, future liabilities for those kind of incidents, and also whatever we can do, obviously, internally to continue to address workers' comp and other claims internally. That would be whatever we can do. And whatever we can bake into our budget for the next fiscal year and future fiscal years, make sure I know we already, and I know staff are already thinking through what programs we need to continue to implement. We have our insurers and others, the insurance pools that are making sure that we're in compliance and we're at the cutting edge of whatever programs we need to implement to reduce these liabilities going into the future. On the so with the net revenue that we've generated this past fiscal year, and I know we'll address this in the budget discussion for next fiscal year as that gets teed up in the next few months. We have certain amounts set aside for capital projects. I'd love to tee up a discussion at a future agenda item as we get into the budget to potentially set aside some funding for specifically the pool design, because I think that will be a next step that I think logically makes sense. I don't know if I need to throw out an amount or if we can just tee that up as a...
We can bring it at mid-year. We can bring a discussion at mid-year for that, and it'll be either the first or second council meeting in February.
Great. So yeah, if there's a general estimate from an internal estimate about what a pool design might be, I know we're getting ahead of this because we're waiting for the concepts to come back from the consultant that's working on that earlier on in the new year. But if there's an idea of that, I think that'd be helpful to guide a discussion in terms of where we want to go in terms of mid-year budget and potentially set aside money for moving a pool project forward potentially, at least having a discussion. I know right this fiscal year we have we have had $200,000 set aside for Small Business Assistance Fund for businesses. I would love to get a report back when appropriate in the next few months on how that's going. I would love to explore, depending on the feedback from that program, either re-upping that or finding additional funding to either supplement that existing program or, and I'm actually more interested in potentially exploring a revolving loan fund or a loan fund is for small businesses that just need more capital to do some expansions, but also having that be able to replenish the fund so that other businesses can function or to take advantage of that fund on an ongoing basis so that we don't have to the city doesn't have to put up capital every year for a program like that to support businesses, but would be very interested in the feedback from this program and this year as we're seeing implementation for the first year of that, the grant program. I'd also, with the additional funding, I know that we're looking at a long list of capital improvement projects that we don't have enough funding for, but as the market continues to change and interest rates are coming down, maybe we can look at through the budget process as well, if there is funding available, what options there are to potentially pay down additional debt and long-term liabilities, since we're not going to be earning as much on the market going forward, probably. If it starts to make sense to pay down higher interest loans or debt or liabilities that aren't generating the same amount anymore, that don't make sense for us to be levered or arbitraging that way, maybe come back. I would love to have staff come back with potential options to pay down some debt and other existing liabilities that might make sense for us if we have a little money to play with, if that makes sense.
Okay.
With that, I'm happy to pass it on or make a motion.
Thank you.
You want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt the staff recommendation, receive and file the ACFR.
I'll second.
All right, let's vote.
Approved unanimously.
All right, thank you. And then the other item we pulled was 9E, the Bruggemeyer Library Project. Can we get a presentation on that?
Yeah, if you would like, sorry, Councilmember, if you'd like a report, we can do a report, or we can answer questions, or we can do both.
If you have a report, that would be great. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council, Sean Igo, Public Works Director. I also have Kristen Oliveras, our librarian. And so I will start with the presentation. I'm no librarian by any means, so if there's any technical questions, she can chime in. But tonight you have before you an item for architectural designs for the city library. The overarching goal is to evaluate the design for various spaces throughout the library to be more efficient for not only operations, but also for programming opportunities for the public. Services have evolved over time, and so this is an opportunity for us to utilize grant funding that we have available for these architectural designs to plan for the future and hopefully move forward with some additional work utilizing grant funding. So part of these include new dedicated spaces for passport services, installing new multi-language signage throughout the library, creating dedicated spaces that separate not only public spaces but also staff spaces. So there's a clear designation on where the public and staffing can be. So with that, I will take any questions.
Okay, I just wanted to highlight some of the renovations that we're doing with the library. So thank you for that. And is all of that being done in-house, or are we contracting out?
No, this architectural firm, they'll be contracted out. It's a consulting firm.
And then do we have an expected date in terms of when the project would start and end?
So this is really for the design. So this is really to come up with concepts on how we move forward, opportunities to, again, be more efficient with the spaces we have. Once we have those, then we can actually look to go out to construction and, if needed, official engineering designs.
And will some of these concepts come back to council for approval, or to share it?
As we go to award some of these contracts, they would come before council. Yes.
Okay. And then you said that the cost of this was all grant funded?
For the architectural designs, yes.
Okay. And then do we have an estimated amount in terms of what this would cost?
Not at this time. Once we have the architectural designs, then we hope to be able to put some engineering costs toward that.
Okay. Anytime I see renovations for the library, I'm always very excited because I know there's a lot of great stuff that's happening in the library. So just wanted to pull this item to highlight some of those. So as this progresses and, we get some more architectural designs, I'd love to be able to see some of this stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone want to make a motion?
Well, I'll leave
Or
it for
any other
Councilmember
questions?
Sanchez to make a motion. But really quick on the library project, one, I just want to appreciate library staff, Public Works. I know the ideas that germinated into this initial PS&E contract award potentially today came out of the library strategic plan process, and a lot of discussion that came out of that from the community and the stakeholders that were interested in just improving the flow and the utilization of space. And we know that things have shifted a lot to more digital and less physical kind of things. But really, I'm really excited, particularly too, like Councilmember Sanchez, in just creating more community gathering space at the library, which is part of this plan. So really appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into this and all the stakeholders in the community that contributed to getting us to this point. I know there's been a little bit of a time delay between when the strategic plan was adopted and this point, but really looking forward to the construction and hope that stakeholders will continue to engage in the process as it moves forward. And Sean is going to make sure this gets done as quickly as possible, I think.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and make a motion to move to approve this item.
All right, Councilmember Sanchez moves, Councilmember Juan seconds, let's vote.
Approved unanimously.
Madam Mayor, if I may, if the council members or the community members have not seen the library in the last few days, the painting project is about complete, and it looks, I think, really nice and refreshed and new. So if you haven't stopped by to take a look, please do so. The library painting project is just about completed, and the carpet, new carpet replacement is underway, not quite completed, but almost. So library's looking nice and fresh.
Amazing. Thank you so much. All right, and that's it for our consent agenda. No public hearing. So new business, 11A, Atlantic Boulevard bike lanes.
All right, I'm back again. I actually didn't go anywhere, but Sean Igo, Public Works Director. Thank you, Council, Mayor Pro Tem, and City Council. So tonight you have before you an item that is related to proposed bike lanes along South Atlantic Boulevard. This is going to be between Newmark Avenue and Harding Avenue. So this is the current configuration of Atlantic as it sits today. This is that's a 4-lane, 2-lane in each direction with a center lane, and then also we have parking lanes on both sides. So this is, again, this is the current configuration. The proposed improvements along this corridor would allow for a bike lane, again, from Newmark to Harding. With that would come the removal of 56 on-street parking spaces, which is typical for existing roadways. Whenever you add bike lanes, typically you have a reduction in parking lanes. So if many of you know, South Atlantic Boulevard is part of the regional bike network. This is part of the San Gabriel Valley Bike Master Plan, and this is a critical north and south corridor along this plan. It also allows long-term, if we're looking to possibly extend for the full extension of Atlantic Boulevard, would connect to Avenida Cesar Chavez and Reagan, and then also First Street, then to Mednick, and then LA regional bike lanes. Also, this current project actually will connect to our Garvey project, which we talked about earlier, and then also Monterey Pass Road, which will eventually, Monterey Pass Road, that bike lanes would cut through and connect to Mabel, which intersects at Atlantic Boulevard. Opportunities. So this is coming before council because as you've seen, we recently completed a water main project along Atlantic Boulevard. So with that comes resurfacing of the roadway, and so now we have an opportunity to restripe the lanes as they sit today, or we can put the striping back in its current configuration. So again, right now, if we do it today, there's no additional cost and allows us to get this project completed in the near future. If we decide to defer this down the road, because we do have the existing plans, then we would need to remove the striping, which requires grinding, which damages the asphalt, requires additional lane closures and impacts to not only the public but businesses, and then we'll have to pay for the restriping costs for this segment of roadway. The current cost right now, if we were to restripe this, would be about $60,000 for today's cost. Down the road, obviously, you can anticipate escalation. So we did talk to the businesses along this thoroughfare, this section of Atlantic. Out of the 13 businesses that we had direct contact with, 54% of them expressed no objection or support for the bike lanes. And then the remaining percentage brought up concerns about not having bike lanes because of parking and then also safety concerns. So tonight you have before you two options. Option one is to move forward with the restriping and add the Class 2 bike lanes. Again, the advantage of this is it allows us for the regional master plan, that connectivity portion. It allows us to complement our complete streets commitment that we have within our current policies. The challenge is that it does come with the loss of 56 on-street parking spaces. The businesses do have parking, however, they have expressed impacts to their businesses. Option B would be to keep the existing striping the way it is. However, the disadvantage of that would be it leaves that gap in our network for bicycle lanes. There's a cost savings, obviously, if we do it now as opposed to pushing it out in the future. So with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you, Sean. Yes.
Madam Mayor. Sean, quick question. If we put the bike lanes, and I'm looking way ahead now, if we put the bike lanes between Harding and Newmark, that's 56 spaces in that little corridor. That's basically a block and a half, one gigantic block or block and a half, depending how you look at it. That would be, for me, that would be the anticipation of making Atlantic a bikeway all the way from the 10 freeway all the way to the 60. how many parking spaces would we potentially lose if we went kind of like south of Garvey and north of Garvey, just for my understanding?
So generally speaking, it's going to be probably 300 to 400 parking spaces. One thing to keep in mind is that some of these, I'll call them parking spaces that we would lose, they're not currently utilized because they're in front of businesses that like the gas company, where they don't utilize a lot of on-street parking. So you could anticipate a few being not really impactful to the community. However, it's a significant impact to the areas where we do have multifamily and even single family along that corridor. There are frontage roads that you see people utilize, not only the frontage road on Atlantic, but also Atlantic. So there would be a pretty significant impact along this thoroughfare. One thing to keep in mind as well that will be coming forward from the COG is the BRT on this segment. So there is a proposal from the COG, which they will be doing community outreach next month, I believe. They're confirming the date on that one, but that will be to do a BRT lane along Atlantic. So again, same situation as Garvey, where you could either lose a travel lane or the parking lane.
Yeah, so that's my concern, and I don't know what position I have today, because part of me tells me is I'm driving down Atlantic during the day, parking's being used by the businesses, not so much the residential beyond what I call the commercial strip, the residential toward past Harding toward the 60 or before you get to Atlantic Square. However, as you're driving at night, the residential areas get parking because it's the overflow for the small streets, they park in the front. So I mean, that's a lot of parking to lose, 300 or 400 all the way through. And I think what you said was we surveyed the businesses who are going to be impacted by just Harding and Newmark. Have we surveyed the residents that will be impacted, or that's too early?
We did not survey the residents in that area because, again, this opportunity came to us pretty quickly when we looked at an opportunity for this. So the businesses, we were able to contact them. The residential property, or I'll call them properties or multifamily that are across the street from the businesses, there's about 48 units that we did not contact. What I can tell you is that they do use Atlantic in the evening. So it doesn't seem like they're using it because we're seeing that usage during the day from the businesses, but it is heavily used by residential in the evening.
Yeah. Do we know if the traffic commissions kind of have hearing on this in terms of the business situation? Are we aware of that?
We have not presented to the traffic commission. Again, this came up pretty quickly, and so we have an opportunity to stripe it now as part of the paving project. So that's why we brought it forward to the council.
Okay. I'll let my colleagues ask more questions. Let me drill about this a little bit more.
I am similarly kind of torn. I appreciate and very much appreciate staff bringing this to us as an opportunity to potentially save money if we're going to do something like this. I'm a little worried about the lack of the opportunity and ability to do some more robust community engagement around this, even though I know this was part of the regional bike master plan. We identified these things, but I think a lot of people don't remember that. I wasn't on council at least then, and I think most of the residents and businesses that may have participated in this process probably don't remember. And so I'm very hesitant to move forward on this, even if it might cost us more if we want to revisit it, without having done some more outreach to some of the folks there. But other question here, and I think Councilmember Go brought it up as well, right? The COG has approached this with the BRT proposal, at least for the design, which my understanding, right, we only have enough space for one of these things to really go through on Atlantic. So if we do a bike lane, we might, if the BRT moves forward, and if we move forward with the BRT connecting from South Atlantic to further north to Garvey or whatever, that would probably take out the bike lane that we just paid whatever money to stripe anyway, right?
That's correct.
And then what we're looking at right now is just striping. It's not a protected bike lane, class 2. It's just a marked.
Correct. It's just striping sharrows. Or sorry, not sharrows, but chevrons.
which I'm also concerned with. To the extent possible, if we're going to do bike infrastructure, it makes the most sense to where we can physically do protected bike lanes, just because I think that's what would actually make people feel safe to bike. I think even marking bike lanes is still going to be tough for most people who want to bike, and I think it's in my mind likely going to just continue to push people on the sidewalk, which they're doing now, which is how they ride bikes now for the most part on our streets, just because of that physical separation, which I think would be difficult if it's just a painted lane. So I'm convincing myself right now as I talk out loud to probably hold off on this. I'm leaning towards holding off on this opportunity, even if it potentially saves money, just because there's too many uncertainties here with the BRT and our timing of our Garvey project, if that might potentially bring some bike lanes that might connect to this, but we just don't know yet. And the lack of ability to do some robust engagement with the likely impacted neighbors and neighborhoods for this specific project. We can always revisit it. It might cost a little bit more, but I'm as I talk out loud, I'm okay with that.
I have some questions, Sean, for you. First of all, thank you for the report and for the opportunity to be just potentially save some money. Is there a sense of urgency to get these? If we choose to add bike lane path or bike lanes, to decide today whether we wanted to move forward with that?
Yes, because we're ready to restripe with Atlantic now, delaying it, we would have to do some temporary striping, which could push out until probably later next year. So talking about January later, like the end of January.
Okay, so there is a sense of urgency to.
So to some degree, yes.
Yeah, and then I've driven since we've done the resurfacing after, and I know that there's dire need to add some stripes there. Can we go back to the map that you had projected earlier? So this is going from Newmark to, you said Harding?
Harding.
Harding. And I'm trying to remember. So Harding is kind of where the Bank of America and the
John Kebab and Chase.
And Chase, there we go, Chase. So that is like one very large city block?
In essence, yeah.
Okay. And I'm just trying to refresh my mind. Most of those businesses, because I've walked through that business district several times, don't most of them have parking?
Yes, most of them do have parking.
And then on the other end, which is where the apartments are at, and I think those are condominiums, if I'm correct. Most of them have their own already reserved parking, right? Like they have their own
I
parking.
can't speak to that, but they should have garages and their own parking, but that doesn't mean that they utilize them.
Yeah, they might have extra cars or whatever.
Correct.
There might be extra need for the parking. So my concern so I share some of the hesitancy with my other council members, but at the same time, I really think this is a very unique opportunity to be able to save whatever the 60, 70,000. I think you said 60,000, right?
60,000.
If we were to implement our SUV bike lane master plan that we had worked on in the past. And part of the reason why is because in my district, we have a bike lane path that goes, and you're familiar with this, on Reagan, which you mentioned earlier. And one of the constant reminders I get from residents in my district is they always tell me that this is a bike lane path that leads to nowhere, and that it's not connected. And they constantly remind me that it just goes from Garfield to Atlantic, and when are we going to connect it? And so, to me, this seems like a very unique opportunity to be able to finally be able to connect that particular bike lane path to Atlantic. That said, if we head further south, and I know that's not the region we're looking at, but if we head further south, and I know we were just there, like at Shinano, for example, last night, there are some dedicated parking. There is some parking in that area, and I know that if you head further south, there's some apartments, and in the mornings I see a lot of parking in that area. But then as we head further south, a lot of the businesses on Atlantic have parking and there aren't dedicated parking spots on the street.
That's correct. It's typically going to be south of Brightwood.
Right. That's my district. So I personally wish we could have surveyed potentially residents, but I don't know that we necessarily need that. When was the San Gabriel bike lane master plan completed? What year was that?
Don't recall off the top of my head.
Don't want
Ballpark
to.
figure?
I don't want to misspeak, but I
It's
want
been
to say
some time.
2014.
It's been some
I
time,
want to say
yeah.
2014.
So about 10, 11 years ago, something like that?
Yeah.
So, I guess what I'm trying to think is that bike lane, or is that bike master plan outdated? Does it need to be updated, or can we just say that that's still? I mean, obviously that's still what we're looking at when we're making these types of decisions, right? So if that is the case, and that is the master plan, and that is what we're doing, and if we're still trying to connect the city with the bike lane that already exist in the city and the ones that potentially could exist, then I personally would want to see this come to fruition. And that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Sean, question. Again, it's a really interesting exercise in contrasting, since we just spoke about another project on other major boulevard. Compared to Garvey, isn't Atlantic wider though?
It is slightly wider.
But into the lanes.
Yes.
Okay, so I think in that regard, and again, this is where I wish Garvey was wider. I think in that regard, Atlantic gives us more flexibility to be able to accommodate a bike lane or vehicle traffic and a BRT. And I would also just remind everyone too that we still have not gotten, I think, a lot of clarity about, is the money really going to be there for this BRT and timelines, and as I said, also remember that in a perfect world, even if we approve it, we don't know what our neighboring communities feel about that project, And I will say this though, that whether or not there is a BRT, there already is public transit. Again, it's bus 70. It runs through Garvey. It goes down Atlantic. It makes a right on Cesar Chavez into Boyle Heights in Los Angeles. And as Councilman Sanchez says, I mean, we already have an existing bike lane on Riggin, which becomes Cesar Chavez, and again, that bike lane then continues on to what is Mednick, and then a Metro transit station. I think that, and again, ideally, yes, I wish we had more time to do more outreach, but given that, the region has committed itself to a bike plan, and one that's now over a decade old, I think at some point, we need to, look at actually how do we implement it. And so I think that given that Atlantic is wide enough, I'm okay with, at least moving this project forward. And I would just say that, as we're moving forward, we should continue to make sure that we outreach to the community to let them know this is happening, so.
I have some follow-up questions. So if you go to the future slides, there was one that says almost all businesses have their own parking, but not all, right? Most businesses have on-site parking. Which businesses don't have on-site parking? Because I know this is where the NBC Seafood is, LA Fitness, the Monterey Park Mall. So those all have their own parking plazas.
So if you look, I'll call it in the center of here, there is some parking that I think is in the back, and that's why I think people park on street as opposed to in the back.
Right, all those businesses have their own lots.
Most of them do, yes.
Yeah, which ones don't? Are
I
there
think it's the
any?
one, well, I'm talking about frontage to the street. I don't think that they have frontage to the street, frontage parking. So you look at like here, like NBC, like right, they have parking here that's on Atlantic, where this structure here, it's gonna be in the back. So they have parking,
Okay, so
but
they're
not
parking in the
along
back,
Atlantic.
like
I
the
think
Mr.
John
Baguette
Kebab
and
is-
Jim's Bakery.
Jim's Bakery, yes,
John-
correct.
Yeah, John Kebabs as well, they have extremely limited parking for their property. I think they have 2 spaces.
Yeah,
So
but I think
they
for their
heavily rely
property,
upon.
you can't park in front of their property anyways, right?
Yes, you can.
Oh, there is a spot there? Okay. Okay, and then on the other side of the street, I know Chase has their own parking lot. What about Action Sales?
They do.
They have their own parking lot as well. And right now, the proposal is to stripe both sides of
Correct.
Atlantic,
That's
right?
correct.
Which would take out parking on both sides. Yeah, I feel like we need, I understand the urgency of the project. You know, we can save money if we make a decision right away. But I feel like this is going to have a pretty big impact on the community. And I feel like Councilmember Wong says, you know, whenever we have a project like on Garvey or similar big streets that's pretty impactful to our community, we usually do a lot of community outreach to see what the opinions are. And I feel like if we just make a rapid decision right now, we might get a lot of complaints. So I'm leaning towards holding off and doing more research. Maybe we can, you know, even have an idea where we can have bike lanes and parking, you know, like how we're doing for the Monterey Pass Road project. Or maybe like put bike lanes on one side and not the other side, you know, exploring different options to create a win-win. Any other questions or comments?
I would just, if I can add, I would just dovetail a little bit of that as we're having this discussion too. I'm a little worried about, one, the lack, I agree with some of my colleagues in terms of, I think we do need to update the bike master plan and especially obviously the parts in Monterey Park. We're already working on these different segments, right? Monterey Pass, potentially along Garvey, this one, and there are other existing ones that don't really connect right now. It might be worth revisiting since the plan is more than a decade old, to refresh this in some way, shape, or form for the community to have some additional input about what that might look like, especially as we're starting to build out segments of this in the next few years. So that might be something to take on this particular segment of potential bike plan or bike route, bike lane. I'm kind of worried that if we stripe this and create a bike lane on just this one segment that at this point and probably for the near term will not connect to other bike lanes. And so it'll become like Alhambra Avenue and other bike lanes that go from one place to another but don't really connect anything. Could also draw potentially we could upset some neighbors that are going to lose some parking without having done, I think, a little bit more outreach that I would like to do. And then two, if we upset them here with a bike lane that doesn't connect anywhere, might engender, to me, is not worth the potential savings here. That might invite some backlash to bike lanes in general in other parts of the community that we really already have plans to and want to implement. And I'm a little bit worried about inviting that kind of criticism and concern that we just spent this money to build a bike lane, we didn't get their input, doesn't go anywhere, why is the city wasting money on this or whatever, when we know it'll be part of a larger network, but that network's not timed to connect to this one in the near term. I'm a little worried about how that might undercut our efforts to build this wider network in a more strategic fashion too.
If I may add real quick, so one thing to consider is, as we discussed with the previous project, additional outreach in the future to evaluate bike lanes. We could do the same thing as part of this, and if you make that a larger restriping project, then economy of scales, right? We could potentially reduce the cost on this portion if we add this to a larger restriping project. So that could be an opportunity in the future.
I have some questions, Sean. So if we, sorry.
I think, yeah, Councilmember goes. Either one.
If we don't move forward with the bike lane path, I'm assuming the striping is going to be pretty much the same as we had before?
That's correct. It would go on identically as it was prior to construction.
Okay, and then to to the Mayor Pro Tem's comments earlier about Atlantic being a much wider street, if we restriped, once we stripe again to its former self, would there still be enough room to add a bike lane path without disrupting the other lanes, without having, in other words, to resurface the other lanes? Would it be, would there still be ample room? Like, let's say we would lose obviously the parking, but we would just add in the bike lane path without having to touch the other already restriped line.
So I'll give you a Carl answer. It depends. So there's opportunity to do that. I will tell you the challenges that come with that is the way the current configuration is we try to, when we do engineering designs, we try to narrow lanes to reduce speed. And so by doing what you're proposing, we would in essence widen one of the lanes, which would typically give the optics for people to speed. So we did something similar. If you notice years ago, Marie Callender's, that curve where we added the chevrons, we did that as I'll call it an optical illusion to help control people's speed. So by pinching the lanes here and allowing for the future for the addition of that bike lane, you would probably see an increase of speeding.
I see. And then I had a question about the bike master plan that we that we have. So I know it's about 10 years old, but when we create master plans, like let's say like our parks master plan, for example, I know that at some point that park master plan is going to become outdated, right?
Correct.
And that's because our needs as a city might change, right? So would you say that our current bike master plan that and I know it's a regional bike master plan, right? Because I've seen it before. Would you say that it's outdated?
So not necessarily. So typically when you have a master plan, the idea behind a master plan is that your goal is to implement what has been provided within the master plan. And if you don't, it's not outdated until you've hopefully built out or designed most of those projects. For us, we have not done so. And so the master plan, although maybe our community has changed a little bit, the master plan is still a valuable resource for us and a guide to continue to move forward with the designs for bike lanes within the city.
Okay. Because I'm assuming that 10 years ago, I was on the council then, they took the time to be able to create this master plan along with other communities, right? To be able to connect it. So if we are saying we're not going to add these in because things have changed and we're not following the bike master plan, but let's say our neighbors Rosemead and Alhambra still are following it, then we're not doing them justice either by not moving forward with what has already 10 years ago been approved as potentially adding these bike lanes. Because then what I'm thinking is 10 years from now, every plan that we have, climate action plan, our parks master plan, our environmental sustainability plan, will people still be looking at that as guides? And if not, then then what's the point in doing these master plans if we're not using them to help guide our decisions, like today, for example? So I'm still in favor of adding the bike lanes because I trust that 10 years ago there was a council here that worked on this master plan, and they looked at this Atlantic corridor and said this is an area where we could potentially add bike lanes. And so I understand that there's some hesitancy to add them because potentially stuff might change. We haven't done engagement. And on the business aspect, I feel like most of those businesses have already adequate parking to be able to sustain their clientele. But I think that if we are serious about creating a bike master plan in this region and in our city, then it's important and it behooves us to be able to use this bike master plan and implement it. And if not, then are we going to update it and create a new one, or we're just not going to be a type of city that adds bike lanes? And to that point, if that's the case, then the corridor in my district that goes really nowhere between Garfield and Atlantic, perhaps we might need to revisit as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So, Sean, outside of this strip, are we anticipating restriping from Atlantic, Newmark to the 10th Freeway and then Harding to the 60? anytime soon on
As of
that?
right now, we don't have any plans to do so. However, it is within the master plan, the Bikes master plan, to do that. Again, that would require, because this would be a significant project, to do some significant community outreach. So if we were to continue this down going south, probably we would almost terminate at Brightwood unless we looked at eliminating travel lanes to connect it down to the 60, then we would need to do some significant community outreach. So the plan is not to move out any time in the near future unless council gives us direction to do so.
So what's, so it's mid-future, middle, well, not near term, but somewhere, but not approximately 5 to 10 year time period. It's kind of like the mid.
It could be as soon as council gives us direction to evaluate that and put
Good
money
answer.
aside.
Okay, well, I won't dwell on that. Where I'm thinking on this is I share a very similar thought to Councilman Wang here, which is I rather have a comprehensive strategy to think through and build out the entire Atlantic from one end to the other end with the bike lane, if that is what we want as the city with the residents' input, business, and council's decision. I'd rather do that if we kind of strategically think it through, than to kind of be penny wise, pound foolish and say, hey, we're going to save 40,000, 60,000, let's stripe here, and then this thing gets stuck for 5 years, 7 years, and then the expectation of the resident saying, hey, what's the rest of the stuff? Conversely, you have the businesses and other residents saying, we don't want to take away parking, and then you're stuck in that conundrum. So for me, I still think let's have the strategy laid out, then to spin the wheel, save a little money, and then focus on doing something due to saving the money rather than having a full-term strategy. So I kind of thought it out here, just like Councilman Wen, just talk myself through, and I know where I am now.
And I think to Councilmember Go's point, we also have a strategic planning session coming up. Something to maybe add potentially in terms of future projects is maybe looking at how we can connect our city, if that is the direction we want to head in, and how do we engage the community to be able to have a robust bike lane path in our city, or bike lane, connectivity in our city, which might include Garvey in the future, might be worth looking at, and then also revisiting the bike master plan and seeing what still works, what maybe doesn't work, and what options we have. So on that note, I do agree with Councilmember Go on that as I reflect on this a little bit more, that we perhaps start making that maybe a future priority.
Thank you. But I have a question, though. I mean, again, in a staff's own background, it says in 2014, the City of Monterey Park partnered with Bike SGV, Cities of Baldwin Park, San Gabriel, El Monte, et cetera, to adopt this bike plan. And so I'm assuming that means that at the time we did do, community outreach, surveying, and again, it wasn't that long ago because some of the councilors who adopted 2014 probably were on the council till 2022, so not that long ago. So I mean, so to be fair to the work done before, we did do surveying, we did talk to residents, and so so it's not as though this is going to be a surprise, I mean, we did do the due diligence, and my concern too, though, is that we delay, then at some point, it will become a little outdated, and I just think that, it's also a missed opportunity as well.
So right now, there's no striping between Harding and Riggin, correct? There's no bike lanes there?
No, that's correct.
Okay, so even if we did put striping in between Harding and Newmark, it still wouldn't connect to Riggin.
As of right now, we're not connected to Riggin. However, there is a connection point with the Monterey Pass Road Complete Street project. So that will eventually connect to Atlantic. And then again, long term, you have what's being evaluated now and proposed is the connection on Newmark with Sharrows. So there will be connectivity in the next year or two once those two projects are completed. So it just will end at Harding.
Got it. Yeah, I do agree with Mayor Pro Tem Lowe that if there was a master plan, you know, and with community input, we should follow it. But I feel like it should be done all at the same time, because if we're taking away parking for a year or two when it's not connected, it's inconveniencing the residents. Whereas in 1 or 2 years, when the other projects are finished and we put in the whole lanes, then everything connects and the residents can still use the parking for the next 1 or 2 years.
Madam Mayor, if I may, so definitely cities have conversations about bike lanes all the time and how best to implement master plans around bike lanes. So definitely cities that are built out, like Monterey Park, do struggle with competing spaces. I think a lot of approaches in installing bike lanes oftentimes go with repavement projects because it's a new new pavement. So you're putting in striping. It's kind of the best time to consider if you're going to make an adjustment to striping. This is kind of the time. And then as other segments get repaved, that could potentially be the time when you add or connect bike lanes. I get that conceptually, if bike lanes look like they don't connect to anything, the truth of the matter is they connect to the roadway where bikes can be ridden, right? And so if people are using them to commute, you're giving them a space to ride where you can, right? As we're following the bike master plan. And then when the bike lane essentially ends in this situation, if the council were to consider adding it, you continue riding your bike just in the roadway. I get that. It's just, do you feel as safe? I get the bike lane provides that extra feeling of safety that you have a space to ride in the roadway. But essentially, if commuters are utilizing their bikes as a mode of transportation to get to and from work, to get to and from school, they're riding in our roadways regardless if there's a dedicated bike lane. And so if council would like us to prioritize this item to discuss it further during our strategic plan, we can definitely do that. We definitely understand, this is why we were bringing it forward to have this discussion tonight, because we do hear council's interest in having connectivity in our bike lanes. But we're also being sensitive to our residents and to our businesses about the potential for losing parking. So that's why definitely we wanted to have this discussion. Like I said, from efficiency standpoints, the best time to do it is when you do new pavement projects, because that's the lines are not there, and so we're about to put those back in. In addition, let's say that there is interest from the council to do the whole segment of Atlantic. If the other segments of Atlantic, the pavement is in relatively decent shape, and we look at adding bike lanes today, the work that's done to the pavement you have to scrape off the essentially the striping, and there is potential wear to the pavement that could be in relatively better, decent shape, and so now you're grinding that off to fix the lines, and the pavement might not be ready to be replaced. It can be done. We were just trying to bring an option that's most cost-effective at this time, but we do understand if the council is not interested in moving forward with adding the bike lanes today in this segment, we can go ahead and move to just add the regular street striping and then come back at a later date with the rest of the whole Atlantic segment, if that's the interest.
Madam Mayor, again, just to clarify, what's before us is a section from Newmark to Harding, right? It's just that, not all, it's just that section. And again, let's just visualize for a second. So right now, on the west side, you have a bunch of townhomes, and so most people probably just park there. On the other side, you have NBC, you have 24-hour fitness, which has a huge parking structure, underground and surface. To Harding, and again, let's see, let's visualize. So Harding, we're talking about a motel, a church. Again, they have their own parking already. So I guess, okay, yes, I'd have concerns if it was all of Atlantic, but it's just that section, right? So I don't think the impact is that large as the concern is. Again, if you just, in fact, after the council meeting, we just go down and walk down that section. I mean, again, I'm in my head, I'm visualizing their locations that already have their own parking anyway, right?
Do you know how busy the townhouses side is at night? I know I'm not as worried about the businesses because they have their own parking lots, but how much evening parking spots?
There's a fair amount of parking in the evening hours.
There's plenty of
There's a
empty
fair,
spaces?
no, there's people, quite a few parked cars.
Oh,
along
there's
Atlantic.
quite a few parked cars.
Yeah. And again, I don't know the nuances of how many people are living there, how many cars they have. I can't speak to that, but there could be 3 or 4 cars to one dwelling unit.
And Sean, I have a question, and actually to the city manager as well, just in terms of the comments that you made earlier about when we resurface streets, creates a good opportunity for us to revisit the bike master plan and see if it's a good time to add bike lane paths. But realistically speaking, unless we are resurfacing the entire city, adding bike lane paths like in the entire city makes it difficult, right? Without having to spend a lot of money.
That's correct.
So in my head, I'm thinking that every time we resurface a portion of the city, that might potentially be the few times when we can actually add a bike lane path that already was decided by a previous council that was needed in that particular area. So to the Mayor Pro Tem's point, actually 2014 was not that long ago. And I really think that, and I want to trust that the previous council and the city did some type of robust engagement of the city. And I feel like I wouldn't be doing them justice, because I don't know when we're not on the council anymore and people start looking at all of the plans that we did, and they're going to be like, oh, well, Thomas Wong and Jose, I don't know, like, that happened 10 years ago. We need to revisit all of these plans, and anyhow. And I know that a lot of time and effort is expended on doing a lot of these plans. So, and I'm afraid that unless we resurface the entire city again, we might not get another opportunity to add bike lanes. So I think that every opportunity that comes up like this to be able to add a bike lane path that's already scripted in our bike master plan, that was robustly researched and created for this particular purpose, then we should be adding those bike lane paths until the entire city's connected, if that's what the plan says.
And the $60,000 is the cost for the striping of that block? Or?
That would be if we went back in and restriped. So if council's direction today is to leave it as existing the way it is, so no bike lanes, then the cost to restripe at a later date, today's dollars, is $60,000.
To stripe that 1.5 block?
Yeah,
two sides.
that's correct.
Wow.
And can you remind me for context, so we're redoing the street because of the sewer replacement, right?
The water line replacement, yes.
Water pipe replacement. How much was the project cost for the sewer or the water pipe replacement and the resurfacing? And the whole
Off the top of my head, I could not tell you because this is
in the
part of a
millions,
larger
right?
project.
Millions.
Yes, overall, but
So-
between that and Garfield.
So the striping, we're talking about a very small portion of what the capital project costs.
In the
for
grand
this
scheme of
actual
things,
work.
yes.
In the grand scheme of things, right? So I just say that to make the point, right? This is not, I'm not saying, and I don't think those of us who are expressing some concerns around this are saying that we're not going to build or design or insert a bike lane. It's just, I don't think it makes sense at this point, given the cost savings, and for me, at least speaking for myself, given the concerns around the lack of outreach to these neighbors, and I am particularly worried about these residential, right, those townhouses that do take up parking on the street overnight, that would lose their parking overnight, and I very much agree, right, I don't want, very much recognize the need to, and the work that went into the bike master plan in 2014, our master plans, strategic plans that have been adopted just in the last few years. But I'd also just note, right, even with the Parks Master Plan that we adopted, we're still doing specific outreach for specific projects like the pool and things like that separately from the master plan. And so I remember we did this bike master plan. I don't remember any of these specific discussions. I guarantee you none of the people that are going to be impacted by taking out parking lane or parking on the Atlantic remember the bike master plan process and all the outreach that went out. I could not vote for this at this point without that outreach being done on a, right, what would be a significant input or a significant impact on particularly those residential units that are there on Atlantic.
And you said in 1 to 2 years, the Monterey Pass Road project will be completed, and so Garvey will connect to this area, but it still won't connect down south to Riggin.
That's correct.
So it will still have a dead end where it'll go back on the street.
That's correct. Unless, again, council gave us direction to evaluate that in that timeframe.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards waiting until the strategic planning meeting to give further direction. It sounds like Councilmember Go and Councilmember Wan are leaning towards that as well. I don't know if someone wants to say anything.
Do we need a vote for this?
Yeah, do we need to make a motion?
Yeah.
If,
Go ahead.
yeah. Oh, if you would like us to give us direction, yes, we would need more specific direction one way or the other. We just need to know consensus-wise if we're not leaning towards putting the bike lanes back today, or sorry, putting in bike lanes today. We are going to move forward though with striping the street. So that, yeah, okay.
So, Madam Mayor, I'll make the motion to go back and stripe the street to where it was before the waterline construction project, and then as a follow-up, put on discussion the bike lane on Atlantic in our strategic session so that we have a more comprehensive review of that project.
I'll second that.
All right, so Councilmember Go moves, Councilmember Wan seconds. Let's vote.
Approved unanimously?
Nope.
Oh, no. Sorry. I forgot what I'm supposed to do. Wait up. Councilmember Go, yes. Councilmember Wong, yes. Councilmember Sanchez, yes. Councilmember Lowe, no. Oh, sorry, Mayor Pro Tem Lowe, no. Mayor Yang, yes.
I just want to confirm for staff that that was clear direction.
Yes, that is clear direction. We will restripe as it was existing.
All right, thank you for that thorough discussion. That's all we have for new business tonight. And city communications, future agenda items.
I'll start. I don't have any future agenda items. Just wanted to share, we had a great snow village on December 4th. It seemed like it was a long time, but that was epic because not only was there the train and Santa's village and the food, but there were also tons of snow on the, what is it, the slide, the snow slide. And then you also had I think there were 3 different areas of play area where they had snow fights, where the kids can throw snow at each other, I guess. But 3 different areas for different age groups, so that was good. So lots of snow there. Also attended the holiday toy drives for the Congresswoman Chu, and also Assembly Member Mike Fong, who represents our district. Got a chance to talk to them, network, and just on the side ask for money to help us fund city projects, such as items that we have needs in Barnes Park, and I won't say anything, pool. Also attended the Monterey Park staff holiday. So again, wanted to wish everyone a happy holiday season, spend time with family so we can all take a break and then come back refreshed after January. This past Monday, wanted to also thank a nonprofit group in our city, the Cambodian Chinese Ethnic Association, who donated chocolate and also gifts in support of our first responders, our fire department, and our police department. And they will also host a luncheon for about 300 seniors on Tuesday at the Langley Center. I wanted to give them a shout out for their continuing support of our city. That's all I have.
Ditto Councilmember Go's appreciation for staff. Since this is the last meeting of the year, just really appreciate all the city staff that really put in so much work to make this year happen, and for just day in, day out, all the work that is being put in, a dedication, commitment to the city and the residents, the businesses, everyone here and everyone at the city. Really just make sure that the city continues to be one that's desirable for people to live in, to play in, to work in, and as Councilmember Go, when he was mayor and still as a council member, likes to say the best place to live, to work, and to play. So really appreciate all the hard work and the work that goes unnoticed by most residents and businesses here that rely on your coming in every day, provide services. Just really appreciate all the city staff for the dedication that you have to our community. And just reiterate what brought up during the ACFR discussion in terms of budget items. And we have the mid-year budget review come back. If we can tee up potentially allocating some funding, whether that's this budget year or next budget year, we'll leave it to staff to put some sort of analysis and proposal together in terms of potentially set aside funds for pool design, but also revolving loan fund for supporting small businesses in the city. And I can't remember the third one, that paying down potential longer term or high interest bearing liabilities and debt that we should consider potentially with some funding that we might have available. With that, I'll pass it on to Councilmember Sanchez before my voice runs out.
I also want to share in the appreciation of our staff, especially as we head into the holidays. I was at the Snow Village as well, so a lot of people showed up, including my family. So a lot of kids out there having a lot of fun, and I feel like a lot of those events, including our Santa's Jolly Journey around our city, really help not just connect our city, but help revive this idea of our community, a sense of community in our city. So I really appreciate all the effort that goes into doing that. I also wanted to add, because I know at our last council meeting, there was a lot of people here that were concerned about the data center. And I think when we last left, the data center applicant had shared that he would, or that they would have town hall meetings. So whatever information we can get from the data center in terms of, and share with the public in terms of when they are planning to host this, so that we can share with the public, because I know that it's been 2 weeks now, so that we can share directly with the public in terms of when those events are happening, would be extremely helpful for all of those people who came out on that particular day. So if we can reach out to the data center people and the applicant and let them know to share those dates as quickly as we can, so we can, on our end, share with the public as well, so the public knows those items. And then on the bike lane path, because I know we just had a vote in terms of in terms of the bike lanes, I want to make sure, to Councilmember Go's point, to be able to add this to the strategic plan. If our plan is, as a city, to still move forward with this, with our master plan, our bike master plan, and make it a priority, then every opportunity that we have when we repave, like we just had a second ago, we need to be working towards adding those bike lanes. And if that's not a priority anymore, or the bike lane master plan needs to be updated, then we need to do that as well. But obviously, there are residents who still want a bike lane path. It was obvious in the surveys that we received from the Garvey Improvement Project. So I want to make sure that we do our diligence and we respect their voice and their concerns in terms of adding a bike lane. And then just wanted to share, because I know there were sad tragedies this past weekend, particularly a school shooting at Brown University. Just wanted to hope that we can end on that note and be able to send our regards and condolences to families and people who were impacted. Gun violence is still obviously an issue in this country. And we also had a shooting in Australia, right, that we saw at Bondi Beach. So with the urgency of hopefully federal leaders will take action to continue to push forward gun safety laws that protect residents and students as well. And I speak as a teacher and as a parent as well. This is a reality of things, and so it shouldn't have to be a reality. And I think that all of us, it takes all of us to be able to find solutions to ensure that whenever we are in public spaces, regardless of where they are at school, and I say schools because schools are meant to be safe places for people to be at, that we work towards creating gun safety laws that protect students, but all of us in general. So on that note, sorry to end on that note, but happy holidays, and I wish everyone happy New Year. And I know that we were not going to see each other till January 21st for our next council meeting. So until then, thank you.
Let's see. Well, since we had such a rigorous conversation about our bike plan, can we get an update on our bike plan before a strategic meeting? I mean, at a future council meeting, before the strategic planning meeting? Because again, as those who participate, I mean, it is a couple of hours, but we talk about a bunch of subjects. So I figure maybe it'd be helpful to us if we actually got an update on that bike plan since 2014 at some point in January. Okay.
Yes, we can do that.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to thank staff for organizing a great meetup with the mayor last night at Shinano. It was really a popular turnout. We filled the restaurant, and looking forward to hosting more of those in the new year. And I also wanted to close tonight's meeting in honor of one of our dedicated residents, longtime residents, Karen Suarez of the American Legion. She passed away recently, and she had just spoken at our Veterans Day ceremony last month. So we'd love to adjourn the meeting tonight in her memory as well. But thank you, everybody, for a great year, and happy holiday. Stay safe during this holiday season, and we'll see you next year. Yay. Adjourned at 9:27. Try to let the residents reach out to us.